Good evening. I'm saying that too much like Dracula, apparently. It's supposed to be from A Clockwork Orange. There should be more like good evening. Especially after a game like tonight where the Raptors, your Toronto Raptors, not my Toronto Raptors, your Toronto Raptors. This is not my team. I don't I don't know what's going on. But they lost tonight, 115 to 103, and Precious is in the thumbnail. Obviously, it's not all in one player. He only played 10 minutes. But I just thought he was a good symbol, big fish, for what kind of went wrong tonight. And he's like a good metaphor. And I guess that's more interesting than just saying the Raptors, lost the game in the clutch, which they did. And we'll talk about that. Down the stretch, just bad, really bad execution. They were with the Nets pretty much the whole game. There was a lot of runs, a lot of 8-0 runs either way. But the Raptors, they continue to hate free throws. They went 12 for 19 tonight from the free throw line, 63%. The guy in the thumbnail went 1 for 4. Including free throws, he took 7 shots and none of them went in. And I think it's time to start a dialogue. I saw that on Reddit a couple days ago, and I've been thinking about it. Like, yeah, if Koloko was available, does Precious get the 10 minutes a game he got tonight? There was one play where I wrote it down, probably the most maybe Raptor Moments video, potential video. It was third quarter. Again, we'll get into the whole kind of whatever of the game, but just wanted to point this out. I thought it was important. I've pointed out how Precious sets, like pound for pound, probably the worst screen setter in the NBA. I think I'd probably be safe to say that, like for how strong someone is. And there was a play where this is why the Gary Precious pick and roll bucket the other game was so kind of crazy and notable, because Precious doesn't set screens. He just kind of like walks next to the guy and then go, oh shit, and then walks next to the guy. And there was one play, I don't know who he was in the pick and roll with. Might have been Scotty, but Darko was just so pissed. And it was right when Precious like wasn't screening, and it was obvious like what he was mad at, and he like yelled at the guy in the second row behind him, and he just kind of had his hands up, and he's just like, man, it's like boxing out. Setting screens is kind of like boxing out. It's one of the only things that doesn't take any like seemingly intelligence to do. You literally just stand there and like let the person run into you, and he doesn't do that. I don't like, probably one of the strongest guys on the team. It's just like so baffling. I don't think he's adding really much at all when he's coming in, and he's just kind of a symbol of what's wrong with the team. He can't shoot. He is unreliable off the bench. His help defense is awful, especially for how athletic and fast he is. I don't know how many times it was really apparent during the I don't know why I remember this, but the last in-season tournament game, Magic, just how many times he misses rotation. Like, just he's like the last guy in the stadium to figure out what's happening, and then he's fast, so he's able to recover, but it's always a bit too late. And I don't know how many times I don't know how many times tonight people just beat him to the rim. They just beat him to the spot where they're getting their shot off. He's not there in time to block it. It happens all the time. He's a pretty good on-ball defender. He can switch on the perimeter. He's good staying with guards. But on help, he's kind of the opposite of Scotty in that way. Like, Scotty's such a great help defender. It takes a lot of intelligence to do that, and or IQ to do that. Just really hard to watch. I thought Malachi had a bad game. He hit a 3, which was big, but he just felt when Dennis went off, it just kind of derailed. I think that's kind of like 4 or 5 kind of mid Malachi games. And it was really like, without Boucher and Gary coming off the bench in this thing, I don't even know what the bench would have been tonight. I guess Jalen McDaniels had some decent plays. But I don't know. I'm more interested in like I thought the Nets jerseys were really cool. Maybe in the chat, put your what are some of your favorite NBA jerseys of all time? Give me like the team and the era. Like I really like the '90s, the early '90s, I guess '80s, '90s Rockets jerseys, both the red and the whites. The fonts on those are insane. It's like 1970s Dazed and Confused font. Love the McDonald's color scheme. Obviously, I love the original Vancouver Grizzlies. I love the original Raptors, purple. What are some of your favorites? Ironically, the Rockets 2000s is probably my least favorite jersey. The Raptors one gets made fun of because it's like a rollerblading jersey. But this one actually looks like a rollerblading thing. But I thought it was cool. The only thing I was laughing at was the in-season tournament court was basically just the same as their normal gray court. So I don't know why they didn't do black. I think the Raptors doing black popped. I don't know if any other team did it, and with Brooklyn, black would have made sense. Would have made those jerseys pop even more, I think. But I think those were cool. Like I didn't like the font. I thought the font was cheap. It looked like an ice cream font, which actually the jerseys kind of look like ice cream. But I thought the jerseys were cool. Like I think you could wear those shorts with like a normal shirt, and you could wear the jersey like over a hoodie with like black or jeans or whatever. I think that would look. I think that would look good. Maybe not the whole thing. But that's one of the only ones I've seen, the newer jerseys, where I was like, that's like something, I could see someone seeing and like spending money on. A lot of them are just really bad. So yeah, tell me what, and I'll look at those after. I don't know how much of this game I'm going to talk about. I thought it was pretty bad. But there's other games on, good teams playing who want to win. But Dinwiddie, I got a big kick out of. I don't know how you don't make this joke if you're Sherman Hamilton or Brad Fay. I guess this is like peanut butter and a Kong for a dog. If you're doing like a broadcast before a game, the cool sound bite. They loved it. They thought it was great about Dinwiddie. He loves money, and that's why he was motivated. And they thought that was they were giggling like school children to that. I thought that was so good. And I'm like, how do you not make a crypto joke there? Spencer Dinwiddie famously got his contract converted to Bitcoin and lost shitloads of money. How do you not make that joke in that situation? I don't know. I guess if you're on a network, can you make that joke if you're on a network? Like, could Danielle Michaud make that joke? We should be fired. I'm curious about these things. I do have sources behind the scenes. Sources behind the scenes who do tell me that Precious during practices and warm-ups not hitting the shots either. It's not just in the games. It's in the practices. It's in the warm-ups. Just not hitting the shots. The shots are not going in. You got Pascal Siakam trying to add the three-pointer to his bag. I mean, we had somebody famously in the chat, I think was that the Basketball Maven, I haven't seen them in a while, but they were saying that Pascal's shot was fine, was great. The three-pointer was great. 23% clip, 4 in the first half, all felt really forced, not in the flow of the offense. Just kind of seemed like I'm gonna add the three-pointer to my bag during the season. And again, these shots just miss like crazy. Like they just hit the back of the backboard or the back of the rim and just like, bam, they're gone. Precious's misses too, like his free throws, they're just like they're all over the place. Like again, these are the things that happen when organizationally you believe in the whoa, holy shit, this guy's big. That's a stingray. This is getting the credit card bill for for saying you can teach shooting, but you can't teach height. So Precious is kind of the perfect, like it just, like, not to single him out, but he's like such a good metaphor for all of this, like all of this stuff. Like he's obviously not the one to blame, but he's just like the fair, unfair, kind of the poster child, like somebody Masai has been coveting for like he talked about him like he was Gollum, like it was really the Precious, like you're mine finally, as if he's and I don't know if that stuff is overblown. We had Bobby Webster saying that he had been tracking Aaron Baines since his time at the University of Washington in 2005. Wow, right down the highway from me, but wow, That's still to me my favorite Bobby moment of all time. So I think when these guys get signed, there is a little bit of dog and pony show of like, we're in front of the press. We want to generate good headlines and good buzz. So maybe that was over exaggerated a little bit, but it's just kind of jokingly I'm saying. Kind of the perfect encapsulation of can't teach, size and length is the only thing you can't teach. So just get like the tallest people who can't shoot and get them in a gym and good things will happen. And you see it on a night like tonight where they go 12 for 19 from the free throw line. And I don't know what they went from three, but I don't think it was great. And the Nets are basically a 3-and-D factory. Speaking of roster construction, a roster that doesn't really make much sense. Obviously they're moving on from the big three flop, but they this seems like a placeholder team, like a placeholder roster. I don't know if that's been like made official, but it just kind of seems like they're just kind of stockpiling assets, and it's the Raptors. You've got the Timberwolves stockpiling centers. You've got Indiana stockpiling point guards with low shot releases and are smaller. You've got the Toronto Raptors loving guys that are 6'9" and can't shoot. And you've got the Brooklyn Nets who just want to have a stack of 3-and-D guys. You had the Houston Rockets before that with the 6'6", Vision 6'6". They were all mostly shooters around Harden. That was kind of the system. So yeah, I don't know what the future of this particular team is, but honestly, like this should not be. I don't think this should be like a really scary opponent just on paper. I don't like. They don't have incredible guard play. They didn't have Cam Thomas tonight. They have Matt kept calling him Spencer Dimwitty. It's an N, I'm pretty sure. Called him Matt's been on a bit of a roll lately. He called Drummond Draymond, obviously Okoro, and now tonight he called Claxton Sexton. So I don't know if Matt is just watching this all kind of being like maybe thinking about other stuff. I started another YouTube channel. I haven't really promoted it at all yet. I've literally posted the first video called Mr. Moments. Don't love that name, but it just works. It's really clean. Going to be covering the whole NBA. I did the first video on Julius Randle. Probably going to be doing more shorts. But yeah, I am a victim of it too. I watch a lot of NBA games, and there's just a lot of things happening in the league that are interesting that I want to talk about on a different platform and not mix the two audiences, because I know for some reason a lot of you really like the Toronto Raptors. So it's not going to affect Raptor moments though. I'm not going to really invest that much into it until it's, I don't know what the business phrasing for that is, but the 80-20 Pareto law or whatever the fuck it's called. But I'll do a preview in the next video, which I got a Dennis Scotty video I'm working on. Positives. I mean, in-season tournament Gary still is different. He played great tonight. I thought he brought a lot of energy. Made shots. And this is the fourth in-season tournament game where he's played a lot better than he does in non. So he's like the anti-DeMar. They got to take DeMar to that commercial, man. I think the Celtics just beat them by like 105 points. They got to take DeMar to the in-season. He's in one of the long. I just saw it the other day for the first time. One of the long in-season turn, and he's like one of the main characters in that. They got to get him out of that like immediately. Get him out of that. Just cut him out of the. Just cut that part of the commercial. Whoa, big guy. Oh, I'm caffeinated. What are some other in-season tournament games happening tonight? So yeah, Darko not happy in this game. I noticed him a few times. I talked about off the top. He was super pissed with Precious's just disgusting screens. I don't know if I want to make another video about this. I guess it wasn't the topic of the video, but there was a sequence with him and Siakam. I just can't like. I would get through a Precious screen. Like that's how just weak it is. Like he's not even. It's not even really screening. He's just like standing. This is something you teach like 8-year-olds. It's insane. It's wild. And again, if Koloko is in this lineup, does Precious get his little 10 minutes? Here's your little 10 minutes. You get that. Not saying he deserves anymore, but do you get that little 10 minutes to do whatever it is you do? Like, Office Space. What is it exactly would you say you do here? Um, there's it's not funny, but it just looked funny. There was a shot of Scotty getting stretched, and he was just like kind of spread out all over the floor, and the trainers were kind of massaging him, rubbing him down. I thought that could be a funny thing to kind of play with out of context. I don't know, but Precious also, I forgot to mention this, picks up 3 fouls in his first 6 minutes, and a big part of it, one of them was like 97 feet away from the basket, which is just great, genius to do that. But a lot of it is, again, this his help defense. Like, he's not, and it makes sense. He doesn't really read the game on offense, so on defense, he's not really making those reads either. So that kind of makes sense. Again, I always go back to that open gym episode where he talked about growing up playing point guard growing up. I need to see the footage of that. That's the one. That's the thing I'm most curious about of anything with the Raptors is Precious Achiuwa playing point guard. Like, could you just, I don't know. Could you imagine? Like, I guess he's not setting screens. I don't even. Could he even set a back screen on a Spain pick and roll? I don't know. It's. But and then Boucher kind of had the opposite game. He hit 2 threes, had 8 quick points. Had one really nice play in transition, then one kind of play in transition. Siakam rough game, OG rough game. I almost called this episode or whatever this is, like the ring bearers don't show up. OG and Siakam, the ring, whatever you call it, ring bearers, they made a combined 10 shots tonight. So that's not great. I thought Dennis played really well, and on defense and on offense. And I thought when he got injured, I was like, that's kind of it, because as I said before, Malachi, I wouldn't say he slipped back to as bad as he was at the beginning of the year, but it's that kind of the pinnacle of Malachi has kind of slid a little bit. And you really felt it when Dennis came out of the game. Just the offense came to a gridlock, not much movement, shots late in the shot clock. And yeah, I mean, imagine if the Raptors like didn't sign Dennis Schroeder, and they just, I don't even know what what the team would be. I mean, they've gone from the 30th half court offense to like 27th. I don't know if tonight helped. One thing I noticed tonight that I feel like I have noticed before, but I didn't really like write it down or calculate it. OG dribbling way more in these bench lineups. Like when Dennis is not on the floor, OG dribbles way more, which, I mean, it's, I think Precious has a better handle, to be honest. But yeah, also Jakob Hurdle. I know. Brad, another Brad Fay favorite is the Jakob Hurdle. They love these. Whenever anybody's the number one in something or something notable or whatever, it's just, oh, it's such a great story to say. I put out a little compilation a few days ago of Jakob Hurdle missing shots. I was just kind of stoned and had a bunch of clips lying around about how to shot put like Jakob Hurdle. Decided to put a little Return of the Mac thing together, a little mixtape. So yeah, Jakob's playing a lot better. I thought he played good tonight. But when I need to put in a caveat when we're talking about him having the highest field goal percentage in the NBA. It's good that he has made that jump, but on the other hand, you saw it tonight. It was about a week ago, I think, when I looked it up, but he's shooting 85% at the rim and 42% and lower 3 feet from the rim. Like once you get up to 3 feet, that thing dips to 42. So it goes from 85 to 42. And he's basically eliminated taking any shots outside of 3 feet. Don't tell that to Brad Fay. He loves the stat. That's the one. I talked about this before, but like, does I'm picturing Brad Fay like jumping out of bed at 3 a.m. to write down like a stat or something cool to bring up on the pregame show. That's oh man, he was basking in this one. So good, awareness for Jakob to stop taking shots further than 3 feet because the percentage gets cut in half. But then when you're talking about spacing, people are just like the drop that they're playing against him is like increased. And so so it's great that his field goal percentage has gone up and that he's leading the NBA in field goal percentage, great. But it's not providing spacing, and so just a caveat with that stat. I know it's a cool, really cool stat, but some context provided there. Also, with the in-season tournament, I have not got an answer from this yet, and I feel like this is either a genius point or a really stupid point because nobody else has brought it up. So it's either like I've uncovered something genius or something incredibly stupid. When you make the in-season tournament like quarterfinals, those are regular season games, but the schedule isn't drawn up yet. So aren't you going to be playing hypothetically a much better team in those regular season? Like instead of playing the Wizards, now it's congratulations, you're playing the Celtics or the Nuggets. That seems like a defect. Like you're being punished. I don't know how they would ever get around that. I just like they hit me like a week ago and nobody's talking about this. So it's either I'm really stupid and there's an answer for this and it's really obvious and it's like, duh, you idiot, we already figured this out. Or I think I've really predicted, I've kind of predicted some madness here happening potentially. Scotty, I thought was forcing the shot a little bit, but you want that aggression. How do you find that balance? But the aggression I thought was like, how many shots did he have tonight? He was complaining a lot tonight, which we talked about, but Scotty Barnes, 5 for 19, 3 for 7 from 3, which is nice. But yeah, I felt like some of the shots were kind of forced, not really in the flow of things, but sometimes with the people he's playing with, maybe that's not the worst. It's not the worst situation. But yeah, I thought. What else did I think? Yeah, there was a lot of crazy runs. Like Boucher, comes in 8 quick points, and then Schroeder and Pirtle come back on. They go on a 12-0 run. But then weirdly, when Scotty came back on, I don't know who he came back on with. It might have been OG. But then the Nets went on a 15-0 run to close the half, and like Darko was pissed. You could see him from the angle that they were filming. Like you could kind of see him walk off kind of into the locker room, and yeah, you could just tell that he was like really pissed. He was walking out onto the court pretty far, calling in the timeouts, which is always a tell. He was in a good mood at the start of the game. There was a cool kind of wholesome moment with him and Jacques Vaughn, great beard. Don't know if they're like friends IRL, but it seemed like they had a nice rapport. But Darko's mood would change pretty quickly after that. Yeah, I mean, this was definitely a winnable game, and the Raptors were up for a bunch of it. And then, Royce O'Neal got really hot. Utah Jazz legend Royce O'Neal. Another one of these, like, okay, we got Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. Like, it's a 3-and-D factory, basically. By the way, another point people always make is like, oh, Mikal Bridges, I feel so bad for him being so close to Miles Bridges in name. They're very good friends, and Mikal Bridges has been very supportive of Miles Bridges coming back to the NBA. So just going to put that out there, including a tweet saying he's back with a like tear in your eye, happy smiling face. So do with that information what you will. But yeah, so maybe not so innocent. Gonna need to see his internet search history. I wonder if he's watching Jeffrey Dahmer documentaries late at night. I think Miles is. You can see it in his eyes. I think he's like, yeah, he might be a psycho. Precious with a crazy turnover at 2:55 into the third quarter. And then, yeah, kind of the Raptor moment where Darko's just disgusted with Precious's screen setting. Just like looked like he wanted to throw up. Looked like he wanted to throw food. Like it just, I don't know what the high energy. They got to make the high energy playlist more high energy or something. They got to figure out something with the shooting. They showed the graphic and like every player but Scotty had regressed in free throw shooting. That's kind of sus, you know. Yeah, in theory, if the Raptors make all their free throws, they win. No, they don't, but they would almost win. And it felt like they could win. Like it was a really close game for most of us. Or 103, 115 um doesn't really feel like it. Yeah, Scotty was a minus 23 tonight. I don't really it yeah, it seemed like when he came into the game, they just went on a huge that's when they went on that huge like 50-0 run. Like he seemed to be on the floor for a lot of the damage. And I don't can't really like I can't really explain that. I have a hard time focusing on defense and offense on the first watch. Like I can usually watch the game a second time and then pick up on more of like, okay, I can watch specific things. Um, like his energy and his output seemed to be there. Like he's making good plays, you know, hitting threes, hustling on defense. He was complaining, but they continue. I don't know if it was just him and the bench, but it's like it might have been him and OG in the bench, I think, during that run. But tonight, the offense seemed to function a lot better when it was like Dennis, Jakob. That kind of those creating, and then you know Pascal had some good. He had he had a rush shooting night, but I think he had like he only had 2 assists. Yeah, I mean Dennis with 9 assists, and then Scotty still had 6, and then everybody else like 4, 2, 2, and then off the bench only 4 assists off the bench. So, yeah, Jalen McDaniels, you know, 5 points, season high, I think. Maybe we need a fact check on that. He had kind of an interesting amount of minutes tonight. I guess with Grady out, it's opened up a spot. I say this jokingly, but like kind of serious as well. I think like if Koloko was like available, I mean, do you send Precious to 905? I mean, um, he's not getting like meaningful minutes. It just feels like they're putting him in, and I, but I don't really understand like what he's necessarily. I mean, I understand like the theory of what he brings, but it's just been it's been really rough this season. So what are some of your favorite jerseys? Is anybody still watching this thing? And then Pale Fox says, "Who on the Raptors team is a winner? Has that dog?" I kind of missed before I joined Twitter. I mean, I only joined Twitter in 2021. Like, I didn't know what any of this stuff meant. I didn't know what dogs were. I didn't know that Taylor Swift was popular again or popular at all. I kind of miss that, just ignorance of not knowing. I still don't know anything, but like just really not knowing anything. Like I wish I didn't know what like dogs meant, because I guess I still don't. So I don't really know I don't really know how to answer that. Like, I don't know. I don't know if there's any dogs. I think this is the longest I've waited to go into the chat. I think for obvious reasons. But anybody got any jerseys that they like? CH says they're shopping Precious and Malachi for who the F knows. Oh, you explain what dog meant in the question. Dog, you cannot stop me. I will stop you. I don't know. They're NBA players. I guess I thought I'd get different questions when I started doing live streaming. It's kind of been existential, to be honest. Fish just dropped a turd on your cap. See, this is what I wanted. This is like exactly. Yeah, these fish, man, like I feed them and they get really big. And honestly, I'm afraid of. There's like 7 fish. Yeah, that guy's okay. There's about 7 fish in here that I'm like deathly afraid of just gonna eat me at some point. Wow, Pale Fox, you're on a heater. Tweeting is a cult of personality. Wow, that's insightful. That's bars. Will Liu gets up at noon to read tweets, then 2 hours in makeup, then his enema, then it's showtime. Is there any source on that? I mean, if you're going to do a driver's test, that's a good move because you can't get like high or drunk before, but doing that could like be a good like head thing to do. We were rolling until the Dennis knee injury, says Nameless. Yeah, that was a big turning point because that's when whoa, Jesus, that's one of the ones that's gonna eat me, kill me in my sleep. Jump out of the fish tank and drown me in here. Yeah, the drop off. Speaking of Will Liu, one of my favorite tweets of his is the transition from going from Messi to Malachi is going to be tough. And the transition, that was during the World Cup World Cup. Yeah, the transition from Dennis to Malachi is often quite tough. Maybe not as bad as the start of the season, but all in all, Dennis is really the only like effective point, like only good effect. I don't think Malachi is like a good NBA player. He's like, you can put him in, he's a playable NBA player, but he's not at that level where like, I don't know if his name gets brought up in any pregame from the other teams. Like, hey, they got this Malachi guy, and his dad's really cool, and the Raptor Moments YouTube channel has made a couple of videos about him. You know, I don't know. Okay, jerseys. The 90s Raptors jerseys, the early 2000s 76ers jerseys. See, okay, that's interesting. I had one of those. I think I had a Sixers jacket as well. I was a big Iverson fan. Those are so iconic. I can agree with that. And then the 90s pinstripe Magic jerseys are my favorites, says Julian. I totally agree. Great jerseys. I did have a Magic warm-up jacket. I do remember that. I don't think I had a Magic jersey, though. But it felt like, with the in-season tournament court, they're like on a quest to find the most boring shade of blue. Like they've gone from that really electric, what rapper wore that jersey? Memphis rapper. What's his name? Project Pat, I think. I might be wrong. I'm be embarrassed if I'm wrong. But he wore an Orlando Magic 90s jacket on an album cover that I'm looking up right now because if I'm wrong, I will lose all of my credit in the aquarium with the fish. Project Pat. I don't know what I'm talking about. Pat, why does a Pat Bev thing come up? I hate the internet. Okay. What else are people saying? I'm tired. They keep jumping at 3-point pump fakes. Who's they? It's very broad. Who doesn't jump at a 3-point pump fake? Terrible in the clutch, says Jimmy Pope. This team is starting to piss me off. What's it like to be emotional about sports? I want to get there one day. I think I'm just kind of dead inside. But any other jerseys that people like? TZ says the aquarium over the restaurant. The streams get better every game. Thank you. Yeah, this is my home. This aquarium is in my home. It's pretty cool. I can get pretty wet, but I live in Vancouver, so I'm used to the rain. Andrew says, what would you rate this team's watch? Oh, wait, Pale Fox says Nuggets rainbow jersey. I agree. That's a great one. I like the blue one in particular. And I really think like that's a jersey that they should bring back more. They kind of like play with those colors. That's the thing I hate the most. That pisses me off more than anything is when like there was one year, this might be a hot take, people might disagree with me, but there was one year where they put the Raptor back on like the black and gold jersey, I think it was. I just like, I don't like when you tease me with that stuff. Like give me, I'd rather just have the thing. Like it would be way cooler if they were like, oh no, we're just gonna bring back this iconic, rainbow jersey or Raptor jersey. Instead it's like the Nuggets one, it was this really muted color, and then they just kind of had it on the sides, I think, and on the shorts like the rainbow. It's just like, fuck off. Just give me the original. Like, what is this? Either give me the original or give me something better. Don't fucking make. I don't know why this came to me, but it's like Snoop, when the whole like Snoop Lion thing happened. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Play Lottie Dottie and shut up. You know what I'm talking about? Andrew says, what would you rate this team's watchability? I don't find them too exciting. It's an unorthodox team. There isn't anything to get excited about. So I just for my own like sake of wasting time, I drafted my top 25 favorite players to watch in the NBA, and one, it was tough because it's like, well, the one was Scotty. Scotty was like seventh, I think, sixth or seventh in the league. Like I had Shea, Jokic, Kyle Anderson, Halliburton, Luka. Who else did I have above? Scotty was in there. I like players with, and teams, is where I'm going with this, that play fast or have very good footwork, very creative in the either on the perimeter and the mid range. I'm just more predisposed to enjoy that type of basketball. So for me, the Raptors are not very watchable. Again, that's why I started a all NBA channel that hasn't, only started like a day ago, but it's something I've been thinking about for like a year probably. Yeah, it's just not that enjoyable to watch, you know. Do I go on this rant? I'm about to go on a rant. I don't know if I should though. Might hold that off until later. It's kind of an anti, like I'm not from Toronto, so the whole Toronto thing, like I don't have the pride of like, you know, so for me, I think a lot of people fall back on that, but like I live across the country and I don't, the whole We the North thing, I guess I will go on this rant. Fuck it. What are we? 37 minutes. Those are your X's and O's for the show. But there was a clip going around of Lindsay Dunn, by the way, did the interview, and she's really interesting. She was on the Raptor show today with her records, and I'm a big record freak. So the second I figured out she was a vinyl head, lots of respect on that. But she put out a clip. It was like Wayne Gretzky talking about, if you're anywhere in Canada, you're a Raptors fan. If you're in Newfoundland, you're a Raptors fan. If you're in Vancouver, you're a Raptors fan. If you're in Vancouver, you're a Jays fan. And I was just like, hold the fuck up for a second. Like, kind of, but there's some gaslighting in here because we lost our fucking team in Vancouver. We lost the team in Seattle. Those are two teams we lost in 7-year period that are the same distance from Kingston to Toronto as Vancouver to Seattle. It's like basically the same city. You get Tinder matches in Vancouver and Seattle if you're in either one. Toronto, going there for a Tinder match would be insane. It's, 5-hour flight. There's just that connection, in my opinion, is like not as strong as kind of the branding and marketing would kind of appear. Like, I don't know. The people I know in Vancouver, like we're Mariners fans. I would be a Sonics fan. I would be a Grizzlies fan over a Raptors fan. Like we have been like, thanks for, I guess, adopting us or whatever. But this whole, and then Adam Silver going on the Raptors show and being like, when Will asked him about Vancouver expansion, which I don't necessarily think would be like amazing, even though Memphis is selling $2 tickets and has like the 28th best attendance in the NBA. And I think the average house price in Memphis is like $200,000, and in Vancouver it's like 2.1 million. So 10x in kind of your average net worth, I guess you could say ish, but like just so much more money here, so much more capitalism. Still think, for David Stern, who's like this big capitalist guy, moving Seattle and Vancouver to Oklahoma City and Memphis still to me is just absolutely insane. But when Adam Silver was talking about potential expansion to Vancouver, I don't know if Montreal was on that as well, but it was definitely Vancouver. And he used that, well, Canada has a team. The whole country is supporting the Raptors. And it's like, yeah, by default, because you took it away from us. So we went to the net. There were no Raptor fans in Vancouver. I mean, maybe I did have a Raptors ball, but like, you know what I mean? There's a rivalry too with hockey so I just kind of hate that argument. I don't know how that rant was for everybody, but in terms of watchability, yeah, honestly, just to be honest, I said 1.5 because I have Gary kind of right on the edge of that. Um, but it's more maybe because I've watched him more than like if he was on a different team and I wasn't watching him as much. I'd put OG would be like close, but again, just to be honest, just totally being honest, I don't necessarily pick up defense on like the first watch. If it's obvious, if it's like OG is shutting down Mitchell or OG is shutting down Giannis, I'm gonna notice that. But like a lot of the more big brain defensive stuff, I'm not necessarily noticing the nuances of that, or if it's really obvious, like Precious missing on help defense, that you see the obvious things, but don't necessarily like enjoy defense because I'm more interested in watching the Brooklyn offense because I'm just more, my brain is just more pre-programmed to think that way. So like if I was a GM or running a team, like I think the '04 Pistons just screwed up the entire league for like so many people, I think I've gone on that rant before, but like just kind of like, oh, we could just build a team of big defenders and not worry about, having dynamic scoring. But teams in the past that have tried to do that, it's really tough. And yeah, as a marketable product, I don't think I'm like alone in that. I think guard creation and whether that's I even like one of my favorite things to watch is like that's why I love watching Luka. I love watching post stuff. Kyle Anderson, I love watching post footwork, back to the basket stuff, sideways to the basket, little hook shots, little floaters, dream shakes, half spins. Like I love all that. It doesn't have to be on the perimeter, but I like watching stuff that is like highly creative, and in a way like the 0.5 offense thing is more creative, but it's not necessarily my like favorite, thing in the world. But that doesn't, I guess you did ask me a personal question. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think though. But I guess for the sake of having a fucking post-game show. Grizz and Sonics forever. Honestly, when the NBA shut down in the pandemic, I just went and watched the 96 Sonics playoff run, like full games. Man, I was watching the Thunder. I can't even watch really the Grizzlies or the Thunder unless that's not true, but I don't, there's part of me that can just never cheer for them. Like I love watching Shea play, might be my favorite player to watch, but I just try to ignore the jersey. I try to ignore the fact that Seattle could have potentially had all of these another time again. I hate to say this, but like, God, was I happy that OKC lost in, all the years that they lost. They haven't won yet, so all the years but around the 24th, I'm just petty like that. Like my last NBA game that I went to was watching Kevin Durant in his rookie year in Seattle. Play the Knicks, 86-85, February 2nd. Last NBA game I went to, 2008. They took it away from us, and then they said, "Hey, you already got a team. It's 5,000 miles away." But there's a cool hashtag. There's a cool hashtag that says "We the North," so enjoy it, buddy. There's a cool hashtag. If that's the reason, also like I've heard this too. Like part of the reason that they're not going back to the purple dino is because of like this is the "We the North" era. I don't know. I guess does chevron represent the whole country? Talking about jerseys, watchability. Talking about yeah, I mean that's part of the watchability, I guess. Man, the Raptors jerseys are uninspired, just across the board. You just think of like all the talented graphic designers in the world, and it's like this is the stuff you come up with, just like a fucking chevron V. Apologies to anybody who like owns a jersey like that. I'm sure it looks very nice and it's beautiful, but it's just the whole brand to me is either Chevron and Canadian Tire, or Drake and Affliction, and then a lot of crossing between those two, which just, to me, the Toronto Raptors branding is just like somebody decked out in like Ed Hardy and Affliction, just black and gold, super shiny, and they're like in a Canadian Tire. You got the purple. You got the ticket, you know. It would be cool if like I have my conspiracies of what's going on behind the scenes. I don't think that the moves that were made with the organization between say like 2013 and the championship line up with what's happened in the last few years. It just seems like a completely different. And I'm not the only one who's like thought this. Like it just seems like it's just a different process, a different mindset, and I just have a weird feeling in my stomach about this Ed Roger dude. To be honest, like there's been a lot of him, getting way more power in the company and wanting to take more of a leadership role. He voted against the WNBA. He said Masai wasn't worth his contract. Like Larry Tannenbaum selling shares. He's taken more of a role. It's not good. It's really not good. It's rarely ever good as someone who it's weird to say this, but has been following sports for 26 years, 27 years, whether that's NHL, NBA, MLB-ish, don't know anything about the NFL, sorry. Um, it's 95% of the time bad when non-basketball people want to be involved in the process of making decisions. And I get that like everything goes through to some extent ownership and no one really ever knows what happens behind the scenes, but it's just a vibe thing. It's just something does not feel right. And you could say that, well, that's what the money is for with Masai. Like you're just kind of the fall guy. But like it, and I don't know, him saying he didn't enjoy watching it, like that could be interpreted as a shot to, I mean, this is just pure stupid conspiracy theory at the end of a live stream that I don't know how to end, but something's up. Something's fishy, as we say here in the aquarium. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I might end on that. That was a good high note to end on. I read that as David Eckstein. Ekmar. TZ says, who's Ed Rogers? Do people not know who Ed Rogers is? He runs Rogers. He's like, he has a vote on the board of the MLSE. He's a very powerful human being. He once tweeted out that Bill Gates is cool because he eats like drinks like sewage water or something. He runs the largest telecom company in the country that his father mostly built. And his taking over of that company in 2020 or 2021 is when he really took over as head honcho. Was very controversial. It involved several lawsuits. He sued his own family. He sued his siblings. His siblings sued him. It was in court for a long time. And he ended up like victorious. And what's funny is like he has a lot in trust shares. Like he owns a lot of Rogers. Like the way that these bigger companies are set up is very complex. There's subsidiaries. There's different ways that you can like own stake in a company. It's not just equity, but his front facing equity, like his stock shares, his class B voting or class B non-voting shares are very low. Like he doesn't really own a lot of stock. Like, so that's really a red flag to either somebody who like either doesn't really understand, not, I shouldn't say doesn't understand business, but like it's a bad look when the CEO, he only owns like a few thousand shares. Like it's kind of crazy how little he owns. Usually you'd want, the people at the top to have more of a stake in things, but obviously it just seems like a weird look. The stock hasn't done that well, especially in relation to, other kind of the macro. It hasn't performed well at all. But more importantly, like he has no basketball background. He's a business guy. Like this is how like the Sixers are run. You know, there's a very good Bill Simmons episode with I can't remember who, but yeah, it was right after the Sixers lost against the Celtics, and he talked about how the Sixers under Josh Harris have been run like a hedge fund because he's a hedge fund guy, and he's taken that way you run a hedge fund into running a basketball team, and you know, Raptors sure seem to be loving hedging lately. You know, not really making a decision, um, seeing what's I don't know. It's kind of it. I don't know. I feel too conspiratorial to talk about it too much, but um, the timelines all line up. The timelines like the from when he took more power is kind of when the whole thing started going to shit. Because if people remember, before like the pandemic shutdowns, like the Raptors were first or second in the East. They're right up there at the top. And then it was after that that everything kind of went to shit, and that's when this dude got more power. And someone who has publicly said Masai is not worth his paycheck 2 years after a championship. And the Toronto Raptors were worth 425 million in 2013 when Masai took over. He got that up to a couple years ago. It was like 3 billion. So it's like 700% increase. And to Ed Rogers, that still doesn't, he still doesn't consider it valuable that Masai has earned his value, even though he's under his watch. So that's kind of my conspiracy is like, I don't know if Masai is driving this car. Maybe with drafting he is. I'm sure he has a say in things, but I don't know if he's driving the car. Because it just doesn't make sense. Like, didn't the Raptors used to value shooting? Kyle's a good shooter. Kawhi's a good shooter. Serge is a pretty good shooter. Gasol's a pretty good shooter. So I don't know. It's the team is in a very weird spot, and you can get excited over 2 or 3 game like winning streaks, but I think you can galaxy brain it a million different ways. You can talk about the 0.5 and the Nick approach and the Darko approach, and do you like it, and is it watchable, and why is this way, and it like to really simplify things. So much of it just comes down to lack of shooting. Just it, and this is why I hate the philosophy so much from whoever it's coming from. And if there is hedge fundness happening, which it feels like, the idea for that is to maximize value. And you maximize value through not paying people. And what does it kind of look like is about to happen with this team coming up? Does Scotty stick around for that? Why does he stick around for that? What's in it for him? It doesn't seem like the type that would demand anything or go public with it, but you never know. I mean, look at the Dame situation. You never know. And that's still a little bit of ways, but it's year 3. Alvin's on year 3. Scotty's on year 3. And after 3 years of the first lottery pick they've ever had in a while, who has clear upside, or else why would they draft him? What the fuck have they surrounded him with? So, as Masai has been a genius team builder, doesn't look like he's driving the car. And this is not rare in sports, trust me. Like this happened with the Canucks. The Bull. I mean, oh my God, I don't want to talk about the Bulls, Sixers. Like it's like this systemic thing where the owners want to they're like, hey, I got this basketball team, um kind of like Doland. Why did I say Doland? It's kind of like Dolan. You know, you're kind of like Ed Rogers was born into this position. His dad was Ted. There's a street named after him. Ted and Ed. Wow. I mean, fucking rich people. Jesus. Ted, Ed, and what's his son's name? I guess he just take a letter away. It's just son's name's D. I guess just take a letter away every time. Um, I don't know. You guys want to talk about Brad Fay, Sherman Hamilton, Alvin? I'm kind of running out of steam here. These fish, these fish are getting hungry. Um, I think a lot of the broadcast stuff is going to change. I wish I made a video about this because like I was so early. I was so early on Bally Sports collapsing. Like I was onto this like 2 years ago. I think I care about the broadcast more than like the game. To be honest, yeah, you know, I have a YouTube channel. I have a microphone here, so that's probably part of it. But I think Bally Sports going under is just what we need. We need like honestly take away the television privileges from some of these people. And it's always been my dream that, and I think it's going to happen eventually, that the NBA will just figure out the technology, because my God, when the NBA builds an app or has a stats website or a website and the font is 4 pixels and no one knows how to use it and everybody uses fucking Basketball Reference that looks like Craigslist, and thank God for that, because where would we be without Basketball Reference? When they figure out League Pass is you know, talked about a lot. You got the VPNs and the blackouts and stuff. Once they figure all that out, blackouts, by the way, oh my gosh, it's just, I gotta hate the model that they're using right now. It's so outdated, and so much of the broadcast, in my opinion, is outdated as well. The NBA needs to just overhaul it, own its own product, have its own broadcasters, and give people a choice of like who they want to listen to. Have like a more adult broadcast with like people drinking beer, smoking cigars, swearing, making jokes. Have the more serious, nerdy, like X's and O's. Have the family one. This is the dream. This is the stuff I dream about. I don't think it's that difficult either. You could charge a lot for that too if you're the NBA, and you could have legacy packages where you could just have you could have access to every NBA game. Just go in there, you pay extra for that a month. Like, there's so many ways to monetize it, and I think it's headed that way. In, you know, with cord cutting and with I mean, they talk about battling illegal streams and stuff, but the reason illegal streams are so popular is because it's like the NBA has kind of created this landscape where, you know, some people would rather not get a VPN and have like glitches and blackouts, and you know, yeah, it's wow, now we're really off the rails here. Basketball is a game of runs. Savannah Hamilton, vegan grass. It's her delivery that's just like, it's a little okay, so I was watching a really interesting Eloy Casagrande, who is the current drummer for Sepultura, and he amazing drummer. I was gonna make a meme with Grady Dick about like, because this drummer, he was like 14 and he entered a drum competition. He's from Brazil and just crushed it as a 14-year-old, just crazy solo. And he's just an incredible drummer. He breaks down the fundamentals of drumming in like such an easy to digest way. He hits his drums like they owe him money, but he also has incredible dynamics. Like, he can go really soft, he can go really hard. And he talks about like being on the grid and being off the grid and always switching between the two, like being right on the notes and then being off the notes and playing ghost notes in between those notes. This is my long way of saying Savannah Hamilton does not hit any ghost notes. It is on the beat. Every word is on the beat. Kick, drum, snare, drum, hi-hat. Back to you, Matt and Alvin. Throw in a ghost note once in a while. That's all I'm saying. I got in trouble for this a couple streams ago, though, so apologies. Somebody came in and said she does an incredible job with the 905, which they're 0-8. I don't fucking watch the 905. I am going to try out for them, though, because I will save this team. I will save. You should have seen me today hitting threes. I got the Halliburton wrist going on. I don't jump. It's just on that wrist, on that plate. You know, I I will show up to wherever it is. I'll have my juicer. I'll be in like a van. I'll drive from Vancouver like in a van. That'd be great content. Drive to Vancouver in a van with a blender, a juicer, like a stove maybe. And I'll be in the parking lot with my kettlebells, making coffee, making espresso, having a smoothie, setting up my gymnastics rings on a tree somewhere, and just like saving the Toronto Raptors. Starting with the 905, dropping 48 points in my first 905 appearance, getting called up, coming off the bench, 5'8", 5'10" with shoes on, 5'11" wings, 5-ish 11 wingspan. Just let me launch. That's you talk about what I would watch that. I would watch you talk about are the Raptors watchable. You put me in the lineup, I am watching the games like 7 times over again if I'm in the lineup. So that's my ulterior motive for all of this. Is to be a ball boy and then get onto the Toronto Raptors. Anybody else want to talk about the broadcast? Messiah has a 10-day contract ready for you in December, bro, says James. 905 or 0-8. My whole thing was, this is what got me through the pandemic. This is what stopped me from like. You go down to Colombia. No offense to the players there. I watch their games on YouTube. I follow the scouts on different platforms. Or not, the what do you call it? Agents. Wow, it's getting late. Watch the full games. And you can trick yourself into thinking, hey, I could go to the team, fly myself out there. Been there before, I know my way around. Fly myself out there, go to the team that just went 2-35, find the worst team, and all you got to do is be better than one player on the team. And after like a complete dog shit season, you got to think there'd be like a 4% chance. Just that 4% chance, So get me into the 905 tryouts. I'm not gonna make the 905, but I will network, and then I will play somewhere. Like I'll find the worst team in the worst country. I'll put up like 74 in a game, and then I'll go back to the 905 tryouts with a tape, a mixtape. My friend's dad made a mix in high school. His name was Will, actually, not Will Lou, but another Will. Shouts to my Italian friend named Will if he's watching. But his dad made a mixtape of him in high school and sent it to all the colleges. And remember we got really stoned one night and watched the mixtape, and he was really embarrassed. But I was like, that's like kind of cool that like your dad would film all these games and make a mixtape of you. So maybe I could find that mixtape and say it's me. Remember the first game I played with him? Wow, we're really, the Raptors talk is I think ended. But the first game I played with him, he is a few years older, 2 years older than me, I think. Yeah, 2 years older than me. I played in this like invite. This was the peak of my basketball career, like age 11. This was when I really, 11 to 13, I was really cooking something. And I played in an invite only league in Kitsilano, if anybody knows what that is. God, I'll never forget that gym. This old fucking gym. Just this, like, I love the smell of a basketball gym, and this had the smell of like 7 basketball gyms in one gym. Like, I swear it was from like the 50s or something. But great floor, really squeaky floor. Um, and played against a few guys that ended up playing in I think Div 2 in NCAA. One guy named Ty Nurse. You can look that guy up. Shooting guard. I played point guard, thank God. Never had to guard him. But my first shot, I shot like a deep 3, and my friend Will, who was not my friend at the time, it was my first game. I got called up, and in the huddle, um, Will just screams. Really quiet guy, really reserved, doesn't really ever say anything. He just screams, "I didn't know the new kid was gonna shoot from fucking half court." And I was like 11, and I just like stare at the ground. I think I was like almost crying. I airballed it, by the way. It wasn't a good shot. James says, greatest Raptor of all time, Noel and Raptor Homes dominating the G League for years to come. Yeah, Marquise Noel, he said that he was going to become the greatest Raptor of all time, so I'm not going to say that. I don't think I'm going to I don't know if I've got what it takes to surpass Kawhi Leonard. Maybe, you know, Kawhi shot with his wrist too, much higher release than I have, but very much a wrist dominant shooter. I'm telling you, if you guys are like looking for a new shot, start just shooting with your wrist. Like, stop jumping. This is only if you're looking for a new shot. Like, if your shot's broken, you're like, fuck, I need a makeover. You know, the makeover show, are those still on, by the way, the makeover, whatever the fuck shows where you just have these people and they get the whole makeover. Just start shooting with your wrist. Stop jumping. Get into your ankles, you know, get into your body, get under the ball still, but just shoot with your wrist. It's the closest thing to the ball. It's the easiest to control. A lot of people are talking about, you know, Grady having a lot of variables in his shot. Like, there's a lot of, I mean, it's beautiful. It's like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And then like Halliburton, you know, you got Sam Vecini being like, ew, I don't want him, you know, ew, look how low it is. Ew, oh my God. I don't know. He doesn't talk like that, but sometimes the content of the things that the draft people say come off that way of like, yeah, oh my God, he's only 6'3" and he shoots from his cheek. Like, take him in the 7th round, and then it's like Tyrese Halliburton or whatever. He's taller than that, but just start shooting like that. You can get so much power from getting your wrist under the ball. Like, it's nuts. Like, that will give you more power than, like, you see these people doing like half court. Like, I watched legal websites, folks. Legal, 100% legal. Never watched an illegal stream in my life ever. Not once. Not last night. Not Pistons Wizards. Never. Pistons Wizards. I pay for that shit. Okay. They did a I don't know why, but like firefighters versus policemen half court shots. Strong people. Firefighters, they know how to go. I can't go up. I probably could now, but when I was younger, I couldn't go up and down the pole. You got these guys like flinging, like turning their hips and just like throwing the ball from half. All you got to do is think about lifting a couch. I guess you'd be more. I think you could do like that. If you get under that thing, how much easier it is to lift than being behind it. The leverage point. You get that wrist down, you get a pair of gymnastics rings and you do wrist workouts. I'm telling you, you start shooting like Halliburton. You don't jump, you don't move. Nobody even knows you're going to shoot. You're just standing. Malachi had one like that tonight where he's just standing there. He just shoots it. It's a free throw. Becomes a free throw. I'm telling you. Change your life. We talk about the Pistons Wizards game. I am making a video about that for the other channel, the Mr. Moments NBA channel. Very funny game. So the video I'm making is Jordan Poole and Asar Thompson. So there was a play where Jordan Poole almost gave Cade another ankle injury. Like, great drive, stopped on a dime, was wide open. Jordan Poole, his brain, I don't know what happened, but he just kind of like stopped and then just did like the weakest finger roll you've ever seen. And Asar Thompson's like pretty close, makes a great rotation, great help defense, blocks it. But it was just like the sequence of it just, whoa, who the fuck is that? I haven't seen that one before. That was a new one. He must have snuck in. This is a big one. It just seemed like he was like testing Asar's like hops, who had so many nice finishes. Like not even I don't know if he had any like poster dunks, but just like finishing in midair, going up from the left and then, switching over to the right in midair. Just super athletic, like flying all over the place. And Jordan Poole is like, hey, let me see if I can get a finger roll from 7 feet up against this guy. Just swats it. Like, get the fuck out of here, Jordan Poole. It was amazing. My favorite thing about the Pistons is how much money Monty's making to coach the team. Like, he's making, like, OG money to coach that team. What are they on, a 13-game losing streak? So before that game, fun fact, before the Tankathon, the bottom 3 teams had lost a combined 34 games in a row. So the Spurs, the Wizards, and the Pistons. The Spurs, I think, were on a 12-game. It was basically, I think it was like, or 10, 12, like it added up to 34. So almost, 3 times 12, basically. So that got broken. Congrats to the Washington Wizards. The Pistons broadcast, which I, paid for, of course, they're broken. Like, those are 2 broken men. Don't know their names, but like the white guy in particular. Every Bally Sports broadcast, I'd pointed this out before, is a white guy and a black guy. It's just like you could set your watch to it. It's like Bally Sports. They're just like, they're owned by Fox News too, by the way. They're just like, it's so formulaic. It's like every Bally Sports broadcast. The only Bally Sports broadcast, which again I pay for all of them, which is really good, randomly, is the Kansas. I want to give a special shout out to the Bally Sports Kansas City Royals. Great broadcast on Bally Sports. I don't know how that happened, but like the Pelicans broadcast, oh my god, on just like you just want to, like, it's just unlistenable. It's just, you've got this guy just freaking out over every. It's like he's watching basketball for the first time. He just can't believe anything that he's seeing. But then the Pistons one, it had the energy. I don't know if do they still have telethons. It's more of a 90s and 2000s thing when people watched cable TV. But they would have these, for any younger people, they used to have telethons where, remember once they did the telethon for Haiti and they had like Julia Roberts answering, and Reese Witherspoon answering phones. Steven Spielberg, I believe, as well. But they used to do these like telethons to raise money. And it was very like, they were trying to raise money for a cause. So it'd be very tear jerky. It would be very like, really trying to drum up empathy for whatever the cause was. And that's what the Pistons broadcast felt like. It's just like, just defeated, broken people. But yeah, that was a great watch. Didn't watch the 905 game, unfortunately, but shout out to them for streaming their games on YouTube, even though they're losing them. Speaking of broadcasting, that's like, whoa. What games are happening now, though? I think I'm going to watch some of those. Vegan Grass says, you played against Kelly, ? Almost. That's my like famous story. We were both starting point guards, and he was one region over from, he was in the Thompson Okanagan region. I was in the Fraser Valley region, so those are bordering. So I think with how the provincials are set up, he was in Kamloops, and I can't remember if it was North Kamloops or South Kamloops secondary or just Kamloops secondary. He came there in grade 9 or 10. He was in Ontario before that. I think he was born There's one Canadian player who was like born in like New Orleans or something. I don't know if that was him, but like it was Robert Sacre. Shouts to Robert Sacre. Those were like the deep cuts. Like it was like Robert Sacre, Pasha Baines, and Kelly Olynyk. It was like West Coast holding the hoops down in the West Coast, in this part of the world. But yeah, he was a 6'7" point guard, which in grade 10, I mean, I think we had our tallest guys were like 6'6", I think, and they were like memes basically. Like we had these two twins who were like in grade 8, they were like 6'6", 6'7". These big gangly guys could not shoot or play, but the other teams would always like see them and get freaked out because they were like in grade 8, they were like massive. They could like just like talk about not being able to do yoga or get up and down the court or get a rebound or make a shot, but like man, they were intimidating. But no, our in grade 10, I think if we would have won, I think 2 more games, maybe 3, we would have had to play Kelly Olynyk's team, and he played point guard, and he started, and I played point guard, and I started. So you can do the math on that. Everybody knew who he was. It was called Kelly O. I don't know if he's still called that. But yeah, he was a point guard. So when you watch him and, you watch him in FIBA and he's making all these passes and he's shooting threes, it's because he was a point guard in high school. And it's funny, like, not funny, but whoa. You talk about being born in the wrong era. If he was coming up now as a 7-foot point guard, they're not trying to turn him into a center. They're saying, shoot that three, but, he's a 91 baby like me. You had to shoot like 50% from three back then, especially like high school. Maybe even 60. Like it was just not the time. Daryl Morey hadn't discovered that threes are worth more than twos yet. So got it. That's like my least. Fuck, I hate that so much. Like I was ahead of Daryl Morey on that, but coaches didn't listen. But yeah, no, that was there was another dude called Kyle Wilson. Oh God, he was on White Rock Christian, and he got a girl pregnant, I think at 16, which was like 16 or 17, which at that school was you were expelled without question, a Christian high school. But he was really good at basketball. Really good at basketball. So they were like, maybe it's somebody else. We don't have access to DNA testing. We're not Maury Povich, so maybe she went to Mexico on vacation or something. But they, he was a point guard. He's a couple years older than me, but he was a point guard. Him and Kelly Olynyk were probably like the most at the time. People thought he was going to go to the NBA, and he ended up. I'm sure there's stories written about him. You can look up Kyle Wilson, basketball, BC basketball, whatever. But he started an online poker website, I think. I don't know if it was instead of playing in the NCAA, but like man, like you went to the Agrodome in East Van to watch the provincials, like Kyle Wilson, like that was the show. And he was a couple years older than me, so you're like crazy. White Rock Christian, I actually almost went there. Like I had a meeting and everything. Grade 5. Crazy basketball program. They would beat teams by like 100 points. It was disgusting. I think they beat us by like 70, and then a bunch of them came to my house party from White Rock, and I was blackout drunk, so I don't remember, but I imagine they made fun of us. Shouts to White Rock Christian. TZ, PG Kelly Olynyk sounds crazy. Yeah. I mean, If he could be like a shorter Chet or, um, you know, just having, I guess that's not a point guard. What am I talking about? But like, you know what I mean? Just having that kind of big facilitator instead of, trying to make him into a center. Um, Although I guess Chet is a center. I don't know what I'm talking about. But his position, I think, is if he would have come up, he just came up at a weird time in the NBA where, um, not even in the NBA, but like in high school, and I don't know where he went to college, but in high school and in college, like back then, if you're like 7 feet and you're like, hey, I want to shoot threes, it was like, what are you talking about? Like, get your ass into the paint. We don't care if you shoot. My high school coach didn't care if the big shot, you know. Oh God, I still have resentment against that man. I get to work on that in therapy. If you were a big, you could shoot 30% at the rim, and it was like, good shot, high efficient, good shot, bad luck, good shot, bad luck, good luck, good shot, bad luck. If you miss a three as a guard, maybe not one. If you miss 2 threes as a guard in like a quarter, get ready to sit on the bench, buddy. If you're shooting 40, 42, 41% from three, maybe a couple of us were, maybe me and Spencer were. I remember I hit 4 threes in the first quarter of a game once at Timberline Secondary in Campbell River. God, fucking coach, fucking idiot. Anyways, great guy though. Helped me get into college by editing my grades in the school computer. These are the privileges of playing sports. Where it's like, hey, instead of going to summer school, why don't you get some shots up? And if we can get this math grade bumped up, you can do that bullshit 2 week summer school instead of the 8 week. And get some shots up, big season coming up. He'd been at the school for like 40 years. I think it was his last year. He didn't give a fuck. Great guy. But he worshipped Dominique Wilkins, and he was big himself. And did not... I hate that the Raptors are also running motion offense, because that's what we ran. It's just like, I've seen this before. At least they're not doing triangle shit. My God. That's gonna come back though eventually. Everything goes in cycles. There's some old school plays that you can do in motion. I forget what one of them is called, but we used to do it all the time. And like, I remember, what was it called? Fuck. Jimmy Butler did it like once or twice last year in the playoffs. Maybe somebody in the chat can remind me with what's the name? It's when the either the one or the two guard, they kind of go like around and then like through the baseline, and they receive the pass from the big kind of like at the elbow. It's just like, I forget what it's called, but it's not really run anymore. And then Jimmy Butler just did it randomly, and like that was one of our main plays. It's like one of the few times I was like allowed to shoot. What's that play called? Fuck. I'm gonna scream it. I'm gonna remember it in like 10 minutes. Because I don't really know how to even describe it typing it out. Like, what is the play in motion offense with guard passes to big, cuts the corner, goes baseline? Maybe I don't think there's even a high-low screen. What were we talking about? The Raptors watchability? Yeah. I enjoy. I think you could sum it up with this. I think we'll end it on this. something about the ball going through is satisfying, either when you're shooting or watching. Do people put what do people say? Put a Y in the chat if you agree that seeing the ball go through the hoop is like pretty good. You know, whether you're shooting it or you're seeing it, it looks good. It makes that nice that sound. It's very. It's not at all what it sounds like, but it's very. It's a very hard sound to make with your mouth. How would you even do that? No. How would I do that sound effect? I I got a new snare sound for the rim outs. I was using a Sleeper sample pack for the rim. All the ball hitting the rim, those are from a drum kit that Sleeper made called God, I love Sleeper. Crucial Percussion Producer Pack, I think. But I found another snare drum that just works so much better. It's just way more of like a kind of sound. Sample that. But yeah, it's aesthetically pleasing when the shot goes in. It sounds good when the shot goes in. Other people get excited when the shot goes in. It's kind of contagious. And the Raptors don't do that very much. So the watchability factor is a thing. I mean, watching transitions fun, but it's like 14% of possessions pretty much. And I think the Nets are like one of the best transition defense teams. So actually, Armstrong, BC, not that far from Kelly Olynyk High School. Let's look that up. That's a good place to end it. How far is my hat from where Kelly Olynyk went to high school? Armstrong, BC. I'm going to say it's 180 kilometers. 109 kilometers. It's not that far. Is that like Toronto to Hamilton? How far is that? Why is anybody watching this? Toronto to Hamilton. 68 kilometers. Okay. So that gives you a perspective. Yeah. Kamloops. Apologies to anybody in Kamloops, but I don't know, man. It's like the Raptors. Just the vibe is weird. It just I have family that used to live there. No me gusta. It's kind of creepy. It's creepy. It's creepy to me. I don't know. Has anybody else ever been creeped out by Kamloops? Merritt's kind of creepy as well, if we're being honest. This is BC talk now, but I think I'm losing my mind. So, Tony Wonder Award. Look, I was gonna give it to Dennis, but he was 5. Dennis was 5 for 15. I don't remember it being like that. Who do you even give it to? Gary. Give it to Gary. Give it to Gary. And Thad will give the Anvil Award too, because I need some new awards. He gets that every time.